Have you ever been seated in a bar, cafe, or restaurant and overheard the people at a nearby table? They're louder than necessary. Some of them know what they're talking about, while others clearly don't. But more often than not, they're fascinating to listen to, right? Well, that's us here at the A&A Coffeehouse. So pull up a chair, hang out, and eavesdrop. We don't mind.
Hello and welcome to the A&A Coffeehouse. Go ahead and have a seat wherever you like. Adam and Anthony will be with you shortly. While you wait, please enjoy a cup of our delicious coffee. As always, we have Colombian, cappuccino, espresso, and Americano.
Did you enjoy last week's episode? Well, this episode is part 2 about the death of Judge Antonin Scalia. Please enjoy the conversation and the epic battle to ensue.
So sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and tune in.
The elder Capuchin offers absolution to the people of the town.
Ariel, who is the band that is playing the opening song, and what is the song called?
The Corner Laughers. You can find them on iTunes, you can find them on YouTube, and a link on our website and all our social media.
They play up in San Francisco, right?
I mean, they often go to San Francisco. They've been all over the place. They play shows in Sacramento. They play songs in the Bay Area, including San Francisco, Redwood City, Berkeley a lot, actually. They've been to the UK. They actually played where the Beatles first played.
So if you like them, if you like their music on iTunes or their CDs, you can easily go see one of their shows somewhere around here.
Yes, and if you're curious as to what song it is that you're listening to, it is called Dead Sicilians. So look them up.
Gracious enough to give us the use of their music.
Use their music.
Mm-hmm. First, let's talk about, are they going to fill in a seat for the Supreme Court?
The Republicans say hell no. Actually, the extremist Republicans say hell no.
Of course they do.
The regular Republicans are saying, well, let's wait till we see who Obama picks first before we say no. And then yeah, so it all depends on who the president picks, pretty much.
Well, Republicans are understandably cautious about this.
Mm-hmm.
Because when a Democrat has put someone forward to the Supreme Court, they tend to vote more or less in consonance to what they were expected to vote. They vote in block. I mean, think of Sotomayor or Keegan, and what are the other two that are the Democratic appointees? Do you remember?
Bayor and...
Anyhow, four of them. And four of them who reliably vote in block on the big contentious ideological issues.
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans, you have, the swing vote Kennedy, and just...
Thomas and Alito.
I mean, you have a lot of people who, in very important cases, have really surprised Republicans going against them. So a Republican thinks... Ginsburg. Oh, goodness. How did I forget Ginsburg? In any case, they expect that if a Democrat puts forward an appointee, that is going to be a thoroughly liberal judge. And if a Republican puts forward a nominee, they really don't know if he's going to be liberal or not. So we have to understand, it's not just, in this case, many times it is, but in this case, it's not actually just blind opposition for the sake of opposition on the part of Republicans, but an understanding that either they have this battle out, or they're going to lose.
I know that the Republicans are mad with Bush's nominee, Justice Roberts. Bush put Roberts in, but Republicans now don't like Roberts because he voted for gay marriage and he also voted for Obamacare.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. Maybe we need more moderates instead of like a conservative, because
so
a moderate.
If you want more moderates, have a Republican appoint them.
Yeah, exactly.
There's what the ones seem to do.
One of the problems going on right now is this isn't how it's supposed to be. Go back and look at the Constitution. The justices aren't supposed to be biased to either side. I mean, again, at this point in time, I don't see how we could have avoided it because the nation's gotten so far apart. Yeah, but when they originally made it, you weren't supposed to be, I'm a pro-Washington, I'm a pro-Adams, I'm pro-Jefferson. You're supposed to be a neutral party to determine.
Right now, so the differences are really important. I mean, they don't even agree on what their job is supposed to be. Whether it's to apply the letter of the Constitution and see if the laws are consonant with that, or to interpret what the Constitution might mean for you today.
And then you've got activist judges, you've got the opposite of activist judges.
Mm-hmm.
Like reactionary or I'm blanking. But you got activist judges and non-activist judges. All sorts of things.
Yes.
And unfortunately, according to the Constitution, they don't need to appoint anyone at any point. They can just keep standing in the way all the way through the rest of Obama's term, and if Hillary or Bernie gets in, they can stand in the way and just not appoint anyone for the entire next 8 years. There is no limit. They can just say, nope.
So they can just...
Why is that a thing? That seems like a stupid thing to be a thing.
Because in the Constitution, they're supposed to be completely unbiased, thus you should never have anything like this happen. Why would anyone want to block the unbiased judge?
Because people are stupid and don't let things be things.
Well, because now the judges aren't unbiased. We've got clear leftist judges and rightist judges. Thus, this wasn't a problem the Constitution writers saw.
Mm-hmm.
Thus, there is no limit for how long it takes to put a new person in.
Mm-hmm.
We could bizarrely go for the next 8, 9,
it's funny. People
10.
keep pointing at the fact that the Constitution says that the president will nominate the judge, right? It also says that the Congress and Senate must,
Just Senate.
just Senate must he must do it in consultation and with approval of the Senate. So that's also written into it.
And no time limit.
Some guy on CNN...
Because it's somewhat important. It's something that should not be done just because of rash judgment.
Some guy on CNN today was saying that they ought to put instead as an old Supreme Court justice who's retired in temporarily until the beginning of the year.
Why?
Well, and that's the
because since they've already been on the bench, it might be more. The
but
Republicans will
that
go
wouldn't
for
solve
it.
any problems whatsoever, because Obama would say, okay, give me one of those liberal ones.
And the Supreme Court is still functioning. I mean, they're still seeing cases.
So in fact, how does that work? Let's move on to that.
Well, they see a case.
They
and
no longer have an odd number of judges, which means you can get a 4-4 tie.
in the case,
How does that work?
In the case
but
that
it
there's
goes
a
to
tie.
the lesser. It goes to the lesser court.
Exactly, yes.
Yep.
It goes to the lesser court, but they know that it's not a firm judgment because it's because of a tie, and it's very likely that this is eventually going to be reviewed. But it goes back to that, yeah.
Yeah. So they have two options. One, they can just say, go away at the moment, we're not going to ignore you, come back later to the court case,
And frankly,
which is not going to talk about you right now. Come back and we have 9
you've had
people.
4 consistent liberal votes, 2 consistent rather conservative votes, 2 inconsistent but generally conservative votes, and 1 swing vote. What you've done is lost one of the consistent conservative votes. So
Consistently.
you don't have the problem that. I mean, I don't see a lot of ties on the horizon. We might have had ties on the horizon if Ginsburg.
I've actually got some stats for that in a second. But yeah, right now, in the past 20 years, roughly the time that Scalia's been on the thing, Scalia's been on the winning side. They've gone to the conservative side 82% of the time. It has gone conservative. The last time there was a liberal majority was 1974.
But on what type of cases? Because the majority of the cases...
It doesn't specify.
There it is. Majority of the cases are not highly contentious ideological issues. The ones that people usually care about when it comes to having liberal or conservative judges are not those 82%. And the only one of
I'd
those...
say that's probably like 50-50.
The only one of those that I think might be affected are the more economic ones or
Citizens
purely
United.
political ones. Exactly, Citizens United.
Or the Bush v. Gore.
That one I'm not too sad about. If that, eventually gets thrown out. That is one of the few times
Which
that
we
I've
talked about
actually
last
cited
week.
against Scalia. But there it is.
All right. So some of the cases that are coming up. There were a lot of people, this is where I'm sure Brittany and Ariel will both chime in with things when we get to these. There's several really, really big court cases coming up. And the liberals were absolutely prepared to lose almost all of them. And now that might not happen.
Now it's all going to be a tie.
Yeah. So the first of those is coming up is the public sector labor unions. They were going after labor unions. Right now, labor unions, they collect fees from everyone within the union, right? If you're part of the union, you pay your union dues. Well, quite a while ago, there was a court case where a bunch of people said, we don't want to be part of the union because we don't believe in what they stand for. Part of their money goes to supporting the Democrats, typically. So we are Republicans. We don't want to be paying our union dues or be part of the damn union. So they won a court case saying they don't have to be part of the union. However, if you're not part of the union and you're still a stevedore working down on the docks, and the union negotiates better prices, better wages for the stevedores, you're not part of the union, but you're still getting paid. You get an improvement because of the union.
Okay.
Those people are called free riders. And free riders still have to pay a portion of that to the union.
Freeloaders.
So you still have to pay a portion to the union, even if you're not part of the union. Free riders still have to pay.
Because they got a benefit from the
Exactly. They just sued. They sued saying, we don't want to pay at all, even if we're getting benefits. So this case is going before the Supreme Court. If they win and don't have to pay anything, that severely hurts the union. Severely. And that would severely hurt the Democratic Party. So a lot of the Democrats are getting behind the unions. A lot of the Republicans are saying, we don't actually care, but we're going to team up just to hurt the Democratic Party. And that's what Scott Walker was doing originally.
I would see that as something that ideologically, prima facie at least, Republicans could get behind. I mean, a lot of their ideology is libertarian, so not having to be in a labor union if you don't want to be would sound like something they'd get behind.
Well,
not simply because.
That's
but
legal.
if you have to pay for them, then you're not really out, are you? If you're paying for an association which you are ideologically against, and you have to do this against your will, I could see you having a gripe because of that.
And that is what they're saying. But then you're arguing that, so now you can just say you're not part of the union, and you just get all the benefits of the union without having to pay anything? So you've got a whole bunch of people working totally for free on your behalf? That's also anti-Republican. That's why there used to be a bunch of anti-Republicans on that side of it.
Well, a lot of them just don't want labor unions at all, so that's
Correct.
a different point. But once again, labor unions, they're supposed to, represent the workers. If a portion of the workers don't feel represented by this union, it's completely reasonable that they not want to contribute to it. And not be forced to contribute simply because, hey, the labor union is doing a lot of things, because that's its job description, for the workers, increasing, getting them better conditions, better pay, all these things. Right. So then, because it's a labor union, everyone is forced to pay it? I don't see that being...
As of right now, yes.
I think if you want to be part of a union, you should pay into a union and get all the benefits. If you don't want to be part of a union, then you don't pay and you don't get the benefits, you don't get the raises.
Yeah, but they say we can ask for it.
When you can't do that, you can't say, okay, we're going to give all of you raises. You 4 people sitting in the corner, you're still getting below minimum wage.
And then they'd sue because, then we're being paid unfairly because these other people are being paid because they're union and I'm not, and they're being discriminated against because I'm not part of the union.
The thing is that, hey, if they want to be whiny bitches about it, it's like, fine, fuck them.
So anyway,
join the union or shut the fuck up.
Well, again, it's understandable.
So exactly, join this organization that you object to on political grounds, or you will be in a worse position financially.
Well, see,
that sounds like blackmail.
Well, see, the
like
thing right there,
like extortion.
Yeah,
there you go.
The thing right there is, I'm in the middle between the two of you. I understand where both of you are coming from. I just don't see any way to fix it that makes sense at all.
I'm pro-union, though. Hey.
So am I. Yeah, I'm pro-union, too.
Could this
I'm
company
pro-union,
fire
but
the people that are not in the union?
Yeah, no one should
Is
be
there any
forced
sort of
to
contract?
join a union, yeah.
Could they fire the people
I
that
think
are
it would
not?
depend on the
But
job.
So don't join.
Some
that
jobs
and still
would,
pay
some
us.
jobs wouldn't.
Okay,
No,
but
don't-
could they in
don't pay them
theory?
as much.
Theoretically, yes.
Like, okay, we have to...
But then
Yeah.
you look really bad if you're just firing everyone who's not part of the union.
I wouldn't say fire them, just tell them they're not going to get the benefits or the raises that the unions make.
But then you get in trouble for being...
Discriminatory.
Yeah.
Well, it's only
You're
if you're
discriminating your union and
against,
non-union.
sex or something. That's a different story.
But it depends what state you're in. Like, California
Or
has
race
like
or
40
age.
different discriminatory things. Colorado has like 30.
Mhm.
Arizona has like 2. It totally depends where you are.
Okay.
So now you've got some businesses getting preferential treatment.
Hmm.
They can fire and pick raises and others can't.
Oh, wow.
So you still got problems.
Hmm.
So every solution we have opens up a whole new problem.
Mm-hmm. Regardless, yeah.
And again, because some of the workers are Republicans. The unions work for the Democrats. So if you're a Republican, do you want to be part of the union paying them full dues to help the Democratic Party?
No, probably not.
Is
So
it
then they
full
say,
dues?
okay, we can leave the union.
Ah.
No, it is not full dues.
So they're
It's a
just giving
significantly
him.
smaller portion.
It's like a thank you.
Yes.
It's like
Thank
the-
you,
yeah.
group I really stringently object to.
But
Here,
that's-
have my money.
No, but this person's life is made better.
Correct. That's the argument that the unions
Right.
use.
But once again,
And it's not just like a small thing that it's going to go unnoticed in their life. A higher wage is a very good thing.
yes, but the thing is, if that money goes to helping a party that defends things that you really, really stringently object to, you find objectionable and perhaps bad for your country. I mean, imagine if you were forced to pay money to someone who's going to give part of that money to the Republicans.
Wait, whoa, hold on.
Would you be
This
very
is-
happy about that?
This is where we're parsing things, right here.
I think they're being petty.
Well, and this is the agreement right here. The agreement that they've reached, that the Supreme Court reached, including Scalia was on this thing, is saying, exactly, you don't want to support the people doing something against you. So you're part of this group, Brittany, you don't want to support the Republicans.
Okay.
So all of the money that you would pay to help the Republicans, you don't have to pay. We're going to give that right back to you. Here is your Republican money, all back to you. You are not helping the money at all. Now you are going to pay us wages to keep a roof over our heads, to keep ourselves paid, to keep our wages going on, to get you better pay, to make sure you don't get fired, and to make sure that you have proper days off and stuff like that.
Isn't that a little bit disingenuous? I mean, are they going to pay the Republicans less now because she doesn't pay into it? Or are they going to pay
Yes.
the same and just say, yeah, it's not your money, don't worry about
Yes,
it?
they have a full accounting thing.
Oh, good.
You can go look at every union and find out exactly how much the union is paying. And the more free riders they have, the less they pay.
That sounds reasonable to me.
That's how it is right now.
Oh, perfect.
Did you
Who's
just
griping
make
then?
a sound argument?
Hmm?
What?
The people griping are some of the free riders who are saying, we're not part of the union, we don't want to pay anything. At all. We don't like having to pay $14 a month to keep the roof over your heads and whatnot, because we're not part of you.
So they shouldn't take the raise. They should be like, I don't want the raise.
Then the company gets sued for discrimination.
That's not the company. That's them making that choice.
They should
The
make.
company has to.
I mean,
If
they're
you
not going to
want
make
a lower
that
wage,
choice.
the company can't do it.
Then they need.
No, it's not a lower wage. It's not a raise.
Oh, well, in this case, I ascribe to
They should
Tony's
add-
somewhat colorful.
Then they should add a clause
What they
because
should do.
if those people are going to whine and
Fucks
bitch and
shits
moan,
bitches
then-
Well, yeah, those things.
fine, they can do whatever they want.
Make sure they sign a waiver
Rate
too,
them
just
to
to
get paid
make
as
sure
little
you're-
as you want,
you're
right?
covered.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, sign a waiver.
Exactly.
Everything's better with a waiver.
Yes.
So, moving on to the next case. Everyone was convinced the unions were going to lose because Scalia was against them. Now it's gone to a 4-4.
Yay.
So, there's a very, very good chance that the unions are going to win because the unions won in the appeals court.
Yes.
So if it does go 4-4, it falls back onto the
Lower court.
appeals court
And of course,
ruling,
being an
which
economic
means
thing,
the-
that's something which the Republicans are more
And Alvaro will be
the
wrong
Republican
again.
appointees are more consistently
I
together.
love
on.
when that happens.
I love when that happens.
Another one of the big cases coming forward, we actually talked about on the podcast, is happening in Texas. It's the one person, one vote redistricting. We talked about that on this.
Oh yeah. States redistrict every 4 years you do it.
Yes,
Yeah.
but normally states count all the people who live there.
Mm-hmm. But they try to like rearrange in such a way like if there's like a huge republic, if there's
Well,
like
that's
a Republican
gerrymandering.
county, and
That's gerrymandering. That's
Yeah.
a different thing.
Mm.
What they're arguing about is they're saying, okay, so every district has to have an equal amount of people, correct? So the Democrats say, okay, equal amount of people. Here's Adam and Tony and Ariel, who are permanent fixtures on this podcast. We're citizens. And here's Brittany and Alvaro, who are guests, who are non-citizens. There are 5 of us at this table. The Republicans say, whoa. They're not permanent. They don't count. We're only counting citizens. The Democrats say, no, it says how many people. There are 5 people at this table. The Republicans say, there are 3 people who are relevant to this conversation at the table.
Well, maybe they should
Chicks.
only count 3/5 of the immigrants.
Ah!
So that
I
is what
get
that
it.
case is about.
That was a high five.
Yes.
So that is what that case is about. Again, that case was
Well,
leaning...
I don't understand. Wouldn't that that benefit the Republicans? I mean,
I am
Texas.
mildly confused about this one as well.
They have a huge immigrant population. If you do not count their opinions, the population is very Republican. So wouldn't that benefit them?
Wait, what population is Republican?
Texas.
Immigrants?
No.
Texas.
Well, the immigrants are actually quite conservative on moral issues. They just, don't like the Republican stance on immigration. But the thing
They're
is,
conservative Democrats, the immigrants.
but the thing is, if you're going to count them as far as the strength of representation of the districts, but not count their votes because they're not citizens, wouldn't that strengthen the voice of the Republicans in those areas?
Yeah, I really don't understand that myself.
So I'm just wondering, is the terminology say people or citizens?
There has to be an equal number of people in each district.
Well, then that's easy.
And the word is people.
Not citizens.
It's population.
And
This is population. This is population.
Population.
But not of
They have
citizens.
to have roughly equal population.
But they never say citizens.
No.
Okay, so if they don't say citizens, then it's people.
Are you being a textualist and an originalist in your interpretation of the law? That's very interesting.
I was just
to
going to
me.
say, does the Constitution...
But what I'm going to say,
really
Republicans
originalist.
are rat bastards because if they say that only citizens are relevant to the conversation, they don't consider them immigrants as people, and that is mean.
No, they're saying that this is to draw electoral boundaries. The only people who can actually participate in the elections are citizens, so that's what we should consider. That's what they're saying. But once again, you're saying that since the letter of the law doesn't say citizens but only population, you're being a textualist. And
When
that's
did
how
I
we should
ever say
interpret
I
the law.
wasn't?
Oh no, it's just going to be relevant later on.
It will?
So much. We're talking about Scalia.
Just you wait.
Because they are adjusting.
It's gonna get bad.
Aren't they adjusting to just before votes? Pretty much. So aren't they technically saying
they wanna do
this
it-
for citizens?
But they want to do it permanently.
Yeah.
They've been trying to do it permanently for years and years and years.
So they want to make each county have the equal amount of people.
Citizens, yes.
Equal amount of citizens. Citizens, not people.
Yes.
Which one is it?
U.S.
The
citizens.
Republicans want to be an equal amount of citizens. The Democrats say equal amount of people.
I could
Which
see
one
Scalia
is it?
citing
Right now it is all people.
against
It's
the
people then.
Republicans on
So they
that.
have to they have to do all people.
Let's
They
get
sued
Ouija
the
board
Supreme
and
Court
confirm
saying
that.
we need to change that, redistrict everything to
I
citizens.
doubt
Do they
he'd
give a
respond to the
reason?
Ouija board. He was a traditionalist
Do they
Catholic.
give any
Oh,
sort of
okay.
explanation for that, or
There's
they
even a
just?
whole topic on this.
One of his sons
Before.
Yeah. That was one of the Danish
It was just
episodes.
a long
One of
enough
his sons,
time
yeah.
ago.
Oh, wow.
You only want that because usually
20
immigrants
times.
will choose Democrat just because
Exactly.
of the immigration issue.
Yep.
While
Thank you.
If it was actually about fairness, then they would agree, but it's not. So.
it's never about fairness.
Of course not. It's
Jerks!
politics.
Asshats!
Politics.
Major ass-licking bastards.
Trump supporters.
So that's happening.
We're not biased here at the
Again,
A&A Coffeehouse
that looked
podcast.
like it was going to swing to the right.
Tempora, Moris.
That looked like that was going to swing to the right. Now it looks like it's probably going to be a tie, which means it falls back to the...
Which means
Would it?
Which
Would
means-
it I don't know if. I mean, at least the way it's being presented to me, I don't see that Scalia would side the way you're saying.
Scalia was one of the very, very big advocates of it. Scalia was one of the ones absolutely saying, yes, you should.
Yes, you should count them or not.
Yes, we should switch to citizens only.
I'd be very interested to see what his arguments are, because it seems to be a departure from his.
So-
I do
what does
not
this
have those
mean?
printed out.
so it'll go 4-4 and it'll go to what decision?
If that one falls back, then it goes to the Republicans.
But this is a huge moral blow to the conservative movement of the United States. Scalia was a huge intellectual reference
Yeah.
for all of them. And many of them feel orphaned.
He is not and never has been the
Orphaned.
most conservative person on the court. He's not. Both Alito and Thomas are more conservative than he is. Alito frequently, but not always. Thomas is way more conservative than he is. Thomas is leaps and bounds more conservative than Scalia was.
Well, yes. Right now, what you fail to see, because it's a radio thing, there's mocking gestures as to the word orphan. They're taking it as something of histrionic. But no, keep in mind that the famous culture war that they keep talking about on Fox is perceived.
Fox is credible.
No, but they keep talking about it, and that's the only reference you guys tend to have of it. is perceived to be something that exists by conservatives, and it's perceived to be a lost cause, something that is being lost. I mean, just look at what's going on in terms of gay rights or the abortion issue and all of these things. Those are all going firmly towards the side of the liberals. And so the position of Scalia was that, well, of someone who's losing, but who's putting forth the argument, right? So I'm going to very briefly read the very eloquent words of Elliot Milko on First Things, which really does encapsulate this feeling. He says, while his enemies push relentlessly to have their views enshrined as fundamental principles of a free society, Scalia fought to keep the moral question open for debate, to maintain the possibility of reasonable dissent, because he believed that in a fair fight we could still prevail. He was the mighty rearguard in our long and slow defeat. Mm-hmm. And that is the position he has had, and the position that we have lost.
And a lot of people are upset about that.
You should drink more of your beer.
Scalia came out with a lot of opinions.
Exactly.
Scalia came out with a lot of opinions on these upcoming court cases. These cases that we're about to hear that we're currently discussing. He made his opinion clear on most of them. And he talked about them, and he had rulings on all of them that were just never handed down. And they're not final until they're handed down, and the person making them has to hand them down. Thus, everything Scalia has said, all of his opinions, all of his writings, all of his rulings, are now completely and totally irrelevant for any of these things.
His dissents were irrelevant anyways. They weren't authoritative, but both his dissents and these things that he's already written are still an intellectual reference.
One of the things
and that's what's important in him.
One of the number one Supreme Court lawyers in the country, his comment when asked about this was, the vote of a deceased justice does not count.
It does not count as an authoritative vote, but the voice of such a prominent figure does count. And the thing is, in many of the dissents that he has written, he's pointed to something that I think is of grave concern, and that is that the movement seems to be not so much which side should win, but which side should be acceptable in society, and that is actually something that is to me of burning concern. I've lost friends over opinions that I hold. I do not love them any less, but I've lost friends over, for example, my opinion on gay marriage or homosexuality. Others have asked me about this and decided that, well, since I don't hate people, at least maybe it should be taken into consideration.
You were referencing me.
Yes, but others, no. They say, if you do not agree with me, you are ipso facto a hateful person and someone I cannot have social discourse with.
I see a lot of that on Facebook. They're also supposed to be debating whether or not they're going to be considering race in the admissions of University of Texas. We might actually disagree, but we already talked about that in an entire podcast episode on that.
Yes.
So this is settled opinion.
Are they allowed to use race as a consideration for admission?
No,
they shouldn't.
That's discrimination.
Well, we don't know.
Yeah.
No, just our opinion.
Yeah.
No, they should not. I think all 5 of us agree.
No, I disagree. They all.
They should totally be able to say.
If you're going to redress historic discrimination against a particular group, you are justified in treating them differently.
The
argument is up to what point can you do it and for how long?
So that's what I'm asking.
Democrats are currently saying you should be able
ask.
to.
But the thing
The
is,
Democrats are saying you should be able to have a certain amount of black people and a certain amount of Mexicans and
fair
stuff like that.
Yeah.
To
The
make it
Republicans
even.
are saying don't look at anything, only take them on their stats.
Well,
No,
we're not. I'm not going to. Which is yeah, exactly.
Well, in that case right there, would be a 4-4, except Elena Kagan. She was part of the legal team that wrote the law.
Oh, really?
So she's recused herself. So there's only 7 judges going in on that one. So that one probably will wind up a 4 versus 3, probably in favor of allowing race to be considered.
Okay.
So affirmative action will probably stay.
By the way, Elena Kagan, just the thing. So Scalia was talking
20
to
seconds.
Scalia was talking to the guy who was choosing the nominees, and he says, I know that you're not going to choose someone that I like, but at least send us someone smart. He said, who's he going to say? It's like, please, Send this Lena Kagan. The guy just...
Aye.
Ah, 3 seconds under. Good job.
The Obama administration has also announced a plan to allow millions of immigrants who are in the country illegally to avoid deportation and be able to get work permits and stay here for a while. The Republicans are against that. They sued. That is going before the Supreme Court. We were pretty sure the Republicans were going to win. We've lost Scalia. Now it's probably going to be a tie. Which means it drops back down to who was here last. And that one will probably wind up being won by the Liberals.
Yes.
The problem with that one, but it's actually a 4-4 vote.
So then the Republicans are pretty much screwed.
No, it's going to win
By
5-3.
5-3?
It's a 4-4 vote that's going to win 5-3.
So it was going to win anyways.
No, it was going to lose.
I was going to lose.
But
It was gonna be 5-4.
Scalia was going to win. Scalia's side would be 5 versus 3. Kennedy's going to switch sides because Scalia died.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because if it is a 4-4, it drops back down to whoever ruled last, correct?
Uh-huh.
2 courts ruled last in opposite directions.
Why would Kennedy do this? I mean, you're supposed to side for whatever you think is actually the...
He's already come on a statement talking about how that's something completely unprecedented, because you're not supposed to bring a law to challenge in 2 different places at once. This one, 2 different judges got different cases and then merged them together at the same time.
For the Supreme Court, so.
Yeah. So this is not supposed to happen. So if it goes 4-4, it falls back to the last verdict, which was yes and no.
So then does it bounce back up to the upper court again?
That's what a lot of people are saying.
So it goes down and then goes up
So
again?
Kennedy has said, I'm going to skip that whole process and the entire debate. I will switch sides.
Okay.
Well, that seems bad. I mean, you're supposed to take sides because you believe the arguments are compelling, not because it's politically convenient.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem something befitting a Supreme Court justice.
Well, either you can bring that up with Kennedy, or we can talk about when it actually happens, because it's in a month.
Well, but
he will still
doesn't
be
that
here.
mean he's going to sign an opinion that he does not agree with? That seems unethical.
It seems like from what he is saying is it'll go down to them, by default bounce back up to us, where we'll redebate, go back down to them, bounce back up to us, we'll redebate, and I'm already being mildly persuaded by the other side. So after 4 more arguments,
So I'm
I'm sure
half-heartedly
I will
going
be
to side
convinced
with-
by them.
That seems disingenuous and somewhat unethical to me.
And that last explanation is me putting words in Justice Kennedy's mouth, so...
Oh, then...
That last part right there. Yeah, because he's
rash
not gone
judgment.
that much into it. What he has said is that he will probably switch to the other side to avoid this having happened. That last bit was my explaining his rationale for doing something you disapprove of. And then the very last one is abortion.
Fuck. Are you kidding me?
Are we going to have one right now, live?
No.
None of us are pregnant.
well,
Unless you're telling us something.
So
of us.
Texas.
Terrible.
Texas has been putting more and more and more restrictions on abortion clinics.
Asshats.
Until the point that there are basically no abortion clinics in Texas.
Which is so unsafe. That is so unsafe.
So right now,
Yeah,
lots of
restrictions
women...
such as you need to have access to a hospital in case something goes wrong.
and
Not all
many,
of the
many
restrictions
more.
are bad, but
Yeah,
the
and many, many more.
restrictioning into extinction is a bad thing.
Fantastic thing. Less people dead.
Oh, God. There are people dying because they're doing coat hanger abortions in the back alley.
First, let me
How
explain
many?
the case. Then you guys can argue about the case.
It just
I haven't explained
frustrated
yet.
me.
They still
Explain it
doing
once
that?
Because he's already being belligerent and incorrigible.
Texas
Yes,
has Texas.
you just
Okay,
ran back.
shh. Everybody shh.
And I'm
Texas,
belligerent.
Hi.
Texas has been putting on more and more and more restrictions to the point that there are basically, for all intents and purposes, no abortion clinics in Texas. And Texas is saying, that's fine, you can just go to the next state over.
Oh, my God.
They got sued for that because in several places in Texas is a pretty big state, it is 700-800 miles to get to the next abortion clinic. And these are in neighboring states that have various laws of their own saying, you come in, make an appointment, and you come back 14 days later. Meaning you have to take the 700-mile trip back, and then the 700-mile trip back, and then the 700-mile trip back.
Idiots.
So there's been a lot of complaints. This is exploded all over the place. Both sides are completely going off the wall on this one. And it went to the Supreme Court. And a lot of the Republicans have been getting super excited, thinking this might actually overturn Roe versus Wade, making abortion legal in the United States. So a lot of the liberals have been absolutely freaking out, thinking that Roe versus Wade might be overturned. The big person on speaking for that one was Scalia. Scalia's gone, making this a 4-4 decision where it bounces back down to the previous court, which supported Texas.
Ooh.
Fuck.
Look at the bright side. You still have Roe.
Yeah, it also doesn't mean that Roe v. Wade is safe, though.
No, it does not at all.
At the moment, it does. The only possible way to overturn Roe versus Wade is with a 5-4 majority, which there's only 8 people.
There's only 8 people right now, but we don't know who the next person is.
Legalized,
so it doesn't make anything safe.
It makes it safe at the moment.
Invented it as a judicial fiat in the entire United States. There were states where it was already sadly legal.
I'm going to be so sad.
Sadly legal?
I will be so disappointed.
Yes.
So at the moment,
Alvaro,
it looks
I have
like
a question
Texas
for you.
gets a-
Can I ask Alvaro a question that's going to get lots of loud talking?
Yes.
Alvaro?
Because Tony can edit out anything and everything.
Do you have a uterus?
Say yes.
Now, does that
Wait.
affect?
Do,
what
no,
human life-
yes or no?
Yes or no? Do you have a uterus?
Does that affect what human life is?
Do you have a
You
uterus?
need to-
I'm not going to be drawn into that.
No!
Whether or not I have a uterus doesn't affect whether human life is begins a conception.
It's
or
not your body.
And there are so many
sounds
women in
like
the pro-life movement that is a stupid question to ask. I mean, I could go ahead right now, just write to someone, ask them to come and speak instead, and just say, please, go ahead, because they believe that since human life, existing or not, is so dependent on what my reproductive organs are, I cannot speak.
You can't. It's not your body. You don't have a uterus.
It's not your body. It's a human life.
It's my
it's
body.
an
It's
independent
growing inside
human
me.
life. It's growing inside of you, but it is
It's
not
parasitic at the moment.
you. Parasitic. It is a human life being fed in the normal way at that point. And saying that because it depends on you, you have the right to kill it. I mean, Winnie is completely dependent right now. Ought we to kill her?
That's
no.
a completely
That is a
viable
facetious
human
reasoning.
being.
She's born now. She's a human being.
Right, and at what point is it? I mean,
I think it's
you're
first trimester.
establishing complete arbitrary lines.
That's the law.
To say when life begins. Say when it's born. Well, it's viable before it's born.
Isn't it so easy for a man to say that? It's so easy.
Is it really? Does it affect?
One
does it affect the
ejaculation, you think
validity?
you get the...
Does it affect the validity of the argument, whether I have a penis or a vagina?
It does.
It does not.
It
The
does.
argument needs to stand by itself. I mean, saying, depending on
No.
who says it,
argument should stand by itself
That is
amongst the
literally
women
ad
who it
hominem
affects.
reasoning, saying that an argument
You're not
is
even
valid or
listening.
not according to who states it. That is ad hominem reasoning.
You're
and
right. It
beneath
should
you.
stand on its own between the women in which it affects.
So, meaning, you accept the ad hominem, only certain people can make an argument, and an argument's validity only stands depending on who it is that's uttering it.
It doesn't-
That is facetious and really beneath you.
It does not affect men at all.
So, once again, saying, according to what gender you are, you can or you cannot make judgments. That is really completely beneath you and really undermines the idea that men and women are equal in any really rational and valid sense.
I don't think men should have the right to say to a woman, I'm going to make decisions about your body.
I don't think anyone has any right to say, I'm going to make a decision on another human being's body.
Right. So
Yes,
don't make...
like the body of the unborn who you are deciding because we decided it's convenient to our political opinion, should be killed and should not have the right to life. No.
What about the life of that woman?
What about it?
You're putting the life of that child above the life of the woman.
How so?
Because what if that woman does not want that baby?
So she's going to die because she has the baby?
No.
No, you're putting the baby's right to life before another person's right to kill it in order to have the lifestyle it wants.
What about that
She
woman's
wants.
career? That woman's educational opportunities? That woman's life in
I was
some
gonna say,
cases?
in her life.
What if, for
Many people
example,
cannot have
some
children.
mother, like, they found out that she has some health issue, and if she had the baby, she'll die.
So she needs to have whatever the treatment she needs for that.
But what if there's no treatment?
And if
The only
that
treatment is to get rid of the baby.
It's not a treatment for any... Name one
Yeah.
medical condition for which that is a treatment.
don't know any off the top
I
of our
don't know.
heads.
Well,
Okay, we're not
the
doctors.
only thing that goes anywhere similar to that would be an ectopic pregnancy, where the pregnancy occurs in the fallopian tube. The treatment for that
is to get rid of the fetus.
is to...
My mother almost died when I was 3 years old because she had an ectopic pregnancy.
So then what you're doing isn't trying to kill the baby. You're trying to remove something.
The parasite.
Not the parasite.
Yes, it is
No.
killing the body.
So you're doing a treatment that is aimed at saving a woman, not aimed at killing a baby. It's a completely different
it's
thing.
not a baby.
It is a morally different thing. Here we're talking about...
It is a fertilized egg
You're
at that
talking about a
point.
law of double effect. You're saying, I'm doing this, which also has this effect, which is bad, but... Well, you have to choose.
Same question.
Different
I'm not
thing
stopping
altogether.
you. I'm rephrasing the question. So, same question that Tony just asked you and Ariel reinforced. So, I have a friend. I really do. I have a friend, and she was pregnant. She was super excited about her pregnancy and stuff like that, and she got into a really, really, really bad car accident. And they told her, you can keep the baby will probably survive, and it will almost guaranteed kill you.
Because of
Your
the
body
effects of the
cannot
accident,
handle it
she
right
could not handle it. She would have to either get rid of the baby or kill herself. So
And she did, in
suicide or
fact, choose to
murder
leave
in
the
your
baby.
eyes.
She does not believe in abortion. She is someone who's very, very much against it. She does not think it should be legal or anything like that. Actually, no, she does think it should be legal. She's just against it. She's very much against it, but yeah. Imagine that's what Tony's talking about.
Well, once again, I can't speak to the particulars because I, as you are, not a doctor, so I don't know what possibilities there were. But the only thing, the only moral absolute is you cannot do something to directly kill a human life. So, if what you're trying to do is you're trying to induce the labor and do your best to save both patients, but knowing that it's really, really a long shot to save the baby, well, sometimes medical triage is like that, and you have to choose the most likely survivor of an accident. But that, once again, not the same thing as choosing to directly kill a human life.
Wait, before you guys go on, with this, you asked for reasons to have an abortion without an accident, without anything. You go into a pregnancy, and you have to either terminate or either die or hurt the child further. Several diseases, not that you should have an abortion because of this, but there are ways to detect certain illnesses in the child before it's born, including Down syndrome. Not saying that should be something you do, but other ones, muscular dystrophy.
Do you know how many?
Dystrophy?
How many? I mean, at least in Spain, because I can't speak to statistics elsewhere. Do you know how many children dying of Down syndrome before being born are killed in Spain?
Many. How many?
More than 90%. That is horrifying.
It is.
And
that's the one I started with because I don't think that you should.
That is eugenics.
Yes,
that
it is
horrifying.
So moving on, that's one of the diseases that you can detect early. There's also muscular dystrophy. There is cystic fibrosis, sickle cell disease. It goes on. And then other diseases in the mother, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune disorders, HIV, AIDS, other STDs.
So then on one side, thank goodness, now there's excellent medicine that a mother can take while she's pregnant to avoid the baby having it.
I have
in
another
a very
example.
high proportion, like 80% of the cases. But should we actually leave an entire podcast to have time for this? Because I just looked at the clock.
We're already doing it.
Yeah.
We drop topics 2 and 3. We're going to do this the whole time.
We took too much time for all the rest.
Fantastic. Well,
I still don't know why we're talking about this.
because she decided that.
No,
we were going there.
no. Why you guys are allowed to talk about this?
Oh, okay. Well, so you're going back to
Okay, so-
the ad hominem.
Wait.
are
I
not
have another
capable of
example.
making rational
I have another
judgments.
example
Why do you
for
think you have
against what
the
Alva's saying.
ability to choose for us?
So why do I think that I have the rational faculty of judgment over a moral matter? Is that the question?
No, I'm asking why you think you have the right
Because
to
I think
choose
I
what
have the
I do with my
faculty
body.
of rational judgment about a moral matter. And because I think this is not only about a woman's body, it's about the mother's body and the child's body.
But in many cases, it is about the mother's body. I have an aunt who she had a boyfriend who cheated on her without her knowing. She never knew, and they decided to have a baby together. She found out that she had an STD And because it went for so long, she was not able to have children ever. She had to terminate the pregnancy or give the baby the disease. It was infused into its blood. It would have died anyway. She had to have the abortion or kill the child or give them the disease, and it would have had horrible effects on their life as they were growing. The quality of life would have been zero compared to a healthy child who had no STD transmitted to them because of the dick father who gave the mother the STD and didn't say anything at all. That's an example of a situation
what
that hurts
about rape?
both mother and
What
child.
about rape?
Let's address one thing at a time. In my family, I have three different cousins who have severe mental difficulties. One has Down syndrome. Another one the doctors didn't think would be able to walk or talk.
Mm-hmm.
Another one has a lighter form of what's it called? It's not autism. It's before that. The lighter form.
Like Asperger's?
Asperger's.
My cousin has
Something
Asperger's.
like that, yeah. So, yes, there are illnesses which make your life much, much more difficult. I'd be hard-pressed to say that any of my cousins, including the one who the doctors insisted, well, the ones who the doctors insisted be aborted, have lives that are not worth living.
Which is fair. But giving a child an STD is a different thing.
Mm-hmm. Giving
A child
an
born
STD,
with
yes,
an
the
STD.
STD it's terrible for the child to have that. But does that mean that that child's life would not have been worthwhile, would not have been valuable?
But they don't know what kind of effects
that's
that
a
would
rash
have.
judgment to make, and one that's very difficult, one that
But that's
person must
different
have had
than
a very,
having
very hard time
Asperger's.
making. But I think, honestly, it is not a choice that is for us to make.
But
whether
Asperger's
life
is a difference.
worthwhile or
But
not.
that's the difference between communication skills versus serious health defects
Yes, but
and
ought
issues.
we to go and this is obviously histrionics, kill everyone who has these diseases? Are these diseases? Yes,
Back
are
to
these
eugenics.
diseases so bad that those lives are now less worthy? I don't think so.
They're not less worthy at all. But
Well,
giving
then,
them
at
a
that point,
disease that
they're
will likely
already
kill them
alive.
and give them that much pain.
But that's the problem.
Why bring them into
We're
the world
considering
just to
this-
make them
We're
suffer the
considering
whole
this
time?
as if it were a hypothetical. What if this person comes into the world? This person already came into the world. And this is a case of ojos que no ven, corazón que no siente, eyes that do not see, heart which not that does not feel.
then all we're
Since we do not
arguing-
see him yet, we're not going to count her as a human being. I don't think that's...
Well, then any of us are arguing about, the base of our argument, nothing else around it really matters, because all we are arguing about is when is a human life considered viable? When
Even
is it
prior to
human?
that, before we get lost in the reads.
No, I'm
we're
just
gonna
saying
keep
that's the basic argument that we are having in disagreement.
We're going to keep this conversation. I'm going to make a comment in a second. I've been quiet.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to ask one more question on the side that I've been on mostly.
Yes.
And then I'm going to ask a question on Alvaro's side. So,
That'll be interesting.
And Alvaro will be wrong.
first, I don't think anyone is pro-abortion. People always say that. I don't think anyone says, "Oh, I fucking love abortions. They're
That's right.
awesome."
It's
Barely.
pro-choice
Exactly.
or pro-life.
Exactly. The anti-abortion group, one thing that I do think that they do incorrectly is they frequently cast it as pro-abortion versus anti-abortion. No one is pro-abortion.
That's
There
sick
is
and
no one
twisted
running
and
around
horrible.
saying, "Oh, abortions are fucking awesome."
I'm going to get pregnant. just like a
Rarely.
boy.
I've actually heard of people talking about abortion as a sacrament, and it's
Creepy.
something. Yeah,
They
very
need to
You
see a
hang out with
doctor.
creepy
and
people.
very horrifying.
Which-
But
no,
it's
no,
very,
so-
very rare,
They're
and I do
animals.
not characterize people's opinion
so
as
no one is
that.
pro-abortion.
Hmm.
So it is pro-life versus pro-choice. Actually, pro-life is bad too,
Because it's not just pro-life.
because none of us are against life.
No.
We all
Well,
like
what
life.
I think is, there's
That is one thing
disagreement
that-
as to what counts as life usually.
Well, yeah.
and
Which is what I was
think
saying
we should-
before.
We should for the
Adam has a question. Adam is asking a question.
Well, that was my first comment. My first comment is, again, before we get too much into the weeds on that, we all are very, very much pro-life. Everyone likes life. None of us are pro-death.
Yeah, no.
well, no one's
Nor
against choice
pro-abortion.
either. We're just wondering what constitutes a
What
viable
the choice
Yeah.
is.
So, just like so many things, these could be divided up into better terminology, but people use propaganda.
Well,
Thus we've got these
pro-choice
things.
is a pretty good.
So my first question, actually I'm not even sure it's on this side. My first question is for everyone. Romania.
Is it a country?
No, well, yes.
Romania, back in the 60s, 70s, something like that, someone took over Romania, and they made abortion illegal. And abortion became extremely illegal in the entire country. No one could do abortions. And lots of people had abortions who didn't want... Lots of people didn't have abortions who didn't want children. There were lots and lots of children raised by people who didn't want them, couldn't afford them. Romania was not in a good situation at the time. So Romania was not a good place to be for people who wanted to be there. And there were people being forced to have children and stuff like that. And eventually they rose up and rebelled and overthrew the government of Romania. Because there were so many gangsters and violent people and stuff like that, which is frequently used as a pro-abortion thing. Saying, you see, you outlaw abortion and you make a whole bunch of gangsters and violent upstarts who then overthrow the government and stuff like that because they're so miserable with their lives.
Well, it's kind of over-dramatized, but yes.
If it's in the 60s, is this Ceausescu? Because, they kind of had different grievances about him.
I'll actually find my thing in a
Okay.
second.
So, Alvaro, I have to go soon, so I'm going to attack you. We've been talking about lots of health issues, and then I kind of mentioned rape, too, as like what you would force this woman to have a child by her rapist. It sounds like that's what you would say.
I would say the child is not guilty of his father's crime.
Well, no, but is she guilty to raise this child?
The hypothetical child would not be guilty of that bastard's.
No.
But there are also health complications.
But is she
Incest-
guilty to go through that? What about her life?
As a young child having a child.
There's been, for instance, in Germany, the case of one sick son of a bitch taking his
You're not answering
daughter.
the question.
I am. The fact
Is it
that it's
yes or
wrong
no?
Doesn't mean it's not an answer. And the fact that you want a simplistic answer really doesn't speak in your favor. There's been a bastard in Germany who took his daughter, chained her in a basement, raped
I
her
read
over
about
the
this.
course of years.
I remember that.
They eventually were liberated, and I can't imagine what issues the both the daughter and their child might have. But I would be hard pressed in saying that girl is guilty of her abusive father/grandfather's crimes.
But it's not being guilty. It's
It's getting the punishment. It's killing a person because of something that their father did.
health problems.
That person
Of
will have
incest.
health problems. Other
Mental
persons have
health problems. To go
Yes,
through that
so
trauma.
damn many problems, but people with mental health also shouldn't be killed.
You're condemning so many women.
No, I'm not condemning so many children.
But these children aren't even...
I'm saying
They're not even living until the mother
crime-
gives
the
it
crime
life.
is the father's crime, and there are so damn many repercussions of that, and none of them are good. But killing a person is never a good thing. Is never a solution to that, and is not going to bring any healing to
Okay.
anyone.
Let's bring this to me. I didn't have something like that happen to me. I just don't want children. Okay? I don't want children. I don't want to live a life where I have to take care of children. I want to travel. I want to do things where I don't have children attached to my hip. I am sexually active, and I'm taking very good care of myself, so I shouldn't get pregnant. But if I do, I will have an abortion because I don't want a child. And if I do force myself to be a mother without wanting to, I will resent that child because I have so many things I want to do that a child would hinder and stop. And that child does not deserve that. It condemns my life to say that I have to be a mother if I don't want to be, and it condemns a child to be mothered by someone that they don't want to be mothered by.
We have mutual friends who have been in such a situation that they didn't feel that they could mother a child, and there are very long lines for adoption. Killing a child because you don't feel ready for motherhood, I don't think is
Or
a
ever
reasonable
wanting to be a
solution.
mother.
Or ever wanting to be a mother. I don't see.
So I
it
have to
being
go
reasonable.
through a 9 months pregnancy to give something
Well,
up?
the child. That's the entire debate goes on. Whether you think it to be an actual human life or not.
It's not a human life till I give it
Here's
life.
The thing. Life doesn't depend on your will. It either is or it isn't.
It
And if it is
it
life,
depends on my
then
will, because I'm the one, I have the body, I have the uterus that makes it.
Its life is independent of you. whether it is
No, it's not
whether it is a
independent of me
human
until
life,
it's independent of me. It's a parasite until like 6 or 7 months.
in the same sense that a person who is on life support is a parasite on the hospital, but he's still a human being. Now the child, whether
Yeah, and sometimes we pull the plug on those people, don't we?
Should you? Whether the child is a human life or not, and it should be valued as a human life or not, depends not on whether we wish to imbue it with value, but whether it itself is a human life. So if we consider that it is, and that's where the argument should go, whether it is or not, then it's a moot point whether or not we should kill a human life in order to have the particular life that we want.
Well, how do you know this child is going to be so valuable? Don't you wish Hitler's mom had abortion?
Well, that's the thing. Do you decide whether or not a person's life has value before they've had an opportunity?
Yes, because I'm the mom.
Screw it up.
I'm the mother that gives birth to the child. I can say, no, you're not going to have a valuable life because you're not going to have a life.
Why is that?
Because I don't want to have a kid.
So a human life depends on external validation.
What do you mean?
So you're saying that your validation is what gives a human life its value. There's no intrinsic worth to human life.
Okay, so I have something growing inside me that's taking my resources, is basically dependent on me, and I don't get a say.
Once again, you're now avoiding the question.
What's the question?
Does human life depend on external validation, or does it have intrinsic value?
It does when it grows inside me.
So you're saying that if a human is dependent on you, rather than meaning that you have particular moral responsibility towards that life that's dependent on you, you have the absolute authority to define its value.
When it's so dependent on me that it doesn't even like have all its organs, like it doesn't even.
No,
it wouldn't be able to live outside me.
Age. It's growing and developing in other ways.
It wouldn't be able to live outside me though.
Doesn't it get isn't it like 4 weeks or something? Heartbeat.
Well, yeah, but what does that mean?
Activity.
But does a heartbeat and a brain make a valuable human life?
Well, you're talking about the organs. You're the one who brought the organs up. But that's the thing. At what point do you start thinking that a human life has independent value?
When it can live outside me on its own. Look, Gwen has independent human life. We cannot kill Gwen.
So it's the point of validity. At the very moment in which it's able to live outside is good. So it depends on technological development. Because as technology advances, we're able to keep children at an earlier and earlier time. So then it's, once again, dependent on external issues, not something intrinsic.
Okay, let's create like a timeline. So 3 months and below? So for 3 months and earlier.
Why?
Well, it wouldn't be able to live outside me. Why do you think that...
So then if technology advances, in order to be able to... I mean, they're working on artificial wombs. Does it depend on technology? Whether or not a human life is valuable enough to conserve?
I think we're getting off topic.
No, we're not. We're talking about whether or not human life is valuable outside of your personal considerations.
Outside of my personal considerations.
Yeah.
So
whether or not human life has intrinsic value. You say it has intrinsic value as soon as it is viable.
I feel like...
I'm saying that viability depends on
It's
technology.
kind of like your body is a temple. The moment it's out of your temple, does it have greater value than in your temple? Okay. So,
maybe this has to do with how we view people, because I think value is something that you earn yourself.
Gwen hasn't earned anything at this point.
Well, no.
Gwynny, by the way, is a baby.
That's how I feel. And I'm sure her mom and dad would disagree with me, but they decided to have her so that she could get that.
So you think that you have to earn your right to live. And before that, if a toddler has not had enough time to validate his or her life, there is no value to it. And that's somewhat extreme.
Okay. Yes. What I'm saying is, at a certain point, I consider whatever's going inside you a parasite. And a woman who has to deal with not only that, but then also 18 years of whatever the hell's going to go on, whether that be very good or very bad, I think she has a choice.
given adoption is a thing, let's leave the 18 years aside. But once again, then you're saying that life depends on a person making it valuable. I'd rather say that the value of life is in the very possibility of eventually being able to. So human life is so fraught with possibilities. It has intrinsic worth. The fact that there is a human life is something that we can no longer say, I am going to decide what value it has or not, and I'm going to decide whether or not it has a right to it. Just as
Well, yeah,
later,
if you're
then
creating
later,
it.
are we going to say that a child who is disobedient or has not made good use of the life it's given has not accrued that value? When are we to say that we have the right to kill it or not?
I say
Aside
3
from
months and
if you're
earlier
in
is
favor of the death
perfect.
penalty, heinous criminal acts.
How many months usually is it when the baby starts kicking? No, yeah, same here. I don't know.
I think it's
I
a
think
second trimester, but I think it's
No.
legality. I think it's first trimester up until the first trimester.
Yes, that is the legal thing.
The end of the first trimester.
Alright.
Which I think is a perfect time. I think anything after that, I think you probably should have made the decision before. However, I think that
I think since
I don't think actually men should be able to have a seat at this and tell women no.
So back to the ad hominem, rational arguments cannot be made unless you have a uterus.
What are you guys
That's
discussing?
just not.
I'm telling Alvaro that unless he has a uterus, he should not be able to tell me no.
And I'm saying that is
No abortion?
fallacious reasoning.
Alright, so
Okay.
last
just wanted
topic,
to
because
start
we need to move to a
an
different
argument. I
topic. So last thing on this topic, I'm going to side with Alvaro for a second. My big problem with abortion is if I get a girl pregnant who I really like and it is my baby, I have no say in it whatsoever. And I don't think that's fair.
Why?
Well,
Because it's my kid. It's
Yeah,
going to be my
but-
child.
You just contributed ejaculation. She has to
Yeah.
go through everything else.
well, but now that I think of it, and
Which,
I'm actually completely
I hate
in
to
favor
say
of,
this,
for
I'm
example,
sorry.
the fact if you have a child and you're
but
a
I
man,
agree.
and the girl has the child, you have to pay child support, whether you wanted the child or not.
Yeah.
So do you find that law to be reasonable?
that if a guy pays child support,
Whether he wanted the child or not, yes.
yes, of course.
So then, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of this. I don't know the implications of that.
I actually absolutely do. That is the one area of this where I think it's an absolute double standard.
No, I completely agree that if a man has a child, he has the moral duty
Well, I
to
agree with that, too. I agree
to
with
pay
that.
for it. But
Well, it's just-
that means
It's
he has no right whether or not he wanted to have a child and was very careful about it, as you say.
right.
Whether or not he has the duties of fatherhood.
Well, and it's tough because it is the woman's body.
Mm-hmm.
To say, I'm
Everything
going to
happens in
force
here.
you through this pregnancy just because I want the baby. You can have a baby anyway as a man. You can go to a surrogate. You can ask a friend to carry the baby. There's millions of
can
ways to
adopt.
do it. Or it can adopt, and there's lots of options, but I do agree in that it is kind of messed up that the guy is excited to have this child. I'm going to be a father. Oh my God. Okay, no, it's dead. That's my child, and that now it's dead. So I do get it. I totally do. I wish there was a way that if a woman got pregnant, she could just be like, "Hey, you want it? Here, take it.
Well,
That's
that'd
fine."
be great.
I wish that
But
we
that's
had
not
that
how it works.
technology.
I have the easy way out of saying that since I think life begins at conception, and
Which you're
it's
wrong.
not really a choice after conception, he has the duty to pay for the child because it's his child. He needs to support it.
He has a
That's
duty
it.
to pay for the abortion too.
Well,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
I've one
I
more-
like this guy. No. I think it should go 50-50.
I have one more question for everyone because this one throws every complication into the book. So there's a true story. This really happened. There was a guy who started dating a girl, and the girl was fucking insane. She was really, really crazy,
Mm-hmm.
and so he broke up with her. And he said, "I don't want anything to do with you. You're a crazy stalker girl." So she snuck into his house, drugged him so he fell asleep, jerked him off repeatedly, got a whole big jar of his semen, took it away, and impregnated herself.
Okay.
So she did
raped
not have
him.
any part in it.
So she
He
raped him.
literally had no part in this.
Okay.
And so he sued saying, I don't want her to have that baby. And the court said, well, she's already pregnant, so we can't do anything about that. She wants the baby, and you have to pay child support.
I don't
that's
think
stealing his DNA. That's gross.
I frankly, because of that, the weirdness of that, I just take her, once the child is born, give him full tutelage of the child, because, you know,
She doesn't
she's
deserve.
creepy.
Yeah, no. She does not deserve to be anywhere near that
But then the
child.
father's
Well, I
really
don't
honest,
think
so
he
maybe
wanted
she
the
goes
baby
straight to
born at
adoption.
all.
He'll put it to
Yeah.
adoption. She cannot have tutelage, and it'll go to a sane couple. Maybe that'll work.
My cousin was dating this girl, and she broke the condom, and he, thank God, found out. She did it on purpose. She poked holes in it. He went to the bathroom, and she poked holes in it. And he just being smart, checked before they went to business. Yeah. There's some creepy-ass people out there.
So, sounds like that is our show for this week. Yeah. Thank you for listening. We'll be back again next week. Once again, I am Adam Kincaid. My co-host in this endeavor is
Anthony DeFranco.
our reoccurring guest host is
Álvaro Gutiérrez Valladares.
he's from Spain, and our producer, who we could not survive without, is
Ariel Ayers.
our special guest today was Brittany Stain. Thank
Stain
you for
has already left the
listening,
building.
and
Have yourself a cup of coffee and